Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be working on this really nice Acer Ganella. This Acer right here actually has a really cool story. We did have some plots on the back of my parents' backyard, and for some reason this one just sprouted out of nowhere, where it wasn't actually in a chili pot for peppers and stuff like that. My thoughts on this one is actually that perhaps a bird pooped out a little seed or something, because out of nowhere it just sprouted out, and there's actually no trees of the same species anywhere around. So that's my one theory behind this tree. So today we're just going to be cleaning off those leaves. We're going to cut off some branches maybe, and just put almost every single branch in place. Since most of them are still pretty young, I'm just trying to train this tree to become a perfect bonsai in the future. Alright, so what we're going to do is that we're going to begin by cleaning off some of the leaves that we have over here. I'm just going to use our sharp shears, and we're just going to start pruning here and there. At this point I'm just removing all the leaves that are actually too big, just because I want to stop it at a certain point from getting too big. This tree right here is actually, I believe, about 2 years old now, and I have encountered a few problems where the tree actually grew a little bit too fast. So right before the wiring process, I noticed that the branches of the tree actually grew a little bit thicker. That actually led to a few scars here and there due to the fact that the wire was a little bit too tight in those branches. So I removed it and I gave it about a year rest. So it has not have been wired ever since. I noticed that the scars have actually been healing pretty well. I don't see any major damage aside from some of these branches right over here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be really careful when it comes to wiring this tree, and also I'm just going to leave a little bit more room, since this tree actually grows a little bit quicker than I thought it would. Notice how I have some plastic wrapped around it. What happened is that we had a storm and it knocked down the tree, and after I got to it I noticed that some of the branches were broken. So I used the method of wrapping this plastic around the branch, kind of like as when you're rafting a tree, you know, when you're putting two branches together from different species in a tree. I figured that actually works because it does allow for the tree to heal, and there's really no major scars behind it, and we're left off with a nice healthy branch. A few scars, but throughout the period of time it would eventually heal, and we will not longer see that. So now we do have right here a nice branch hanging down low, and as you see, we begin to see where it splits off. So right here we're going to have a second one, and right here we're also going to have two continuous ones. So we're just going to leave that one as is. This branch right over here, I'm deciding to keep it just because I feel like eventually it would add some thickness to the trunk, and this is going to be my sacrifice branch. Eventually I'm just going to cut it off once I have the thickness that I want right there. This one I feel like I can actually bring down just a little bit, and maybe towards the side right here. At this point I feel like the front of the tree is actually right over about right here. I'm not sure if you guys agreed, but I feel like right here you can actually pick up the good movement that the tree has, as well as the movement of the branches. This one right here is actually healed up pretty quickly too. This is also one of the ones that got broken with the storm. But I'm starting to see a few new buds right here, and as soon as it completely heals, I'm going to remove the plastic. Alright. This branch right here is a little bit long. I've been waiting for it to have some new shoots. So we're going to go ahead and cut it back just about right here. And eventually, this is going to turn into dead wood, and we're going to be able to just come take it off once the two branches emerge from right about right here. I actually see more buds at this point right here. So I might actually just cut back right here just in case this one's die out. I will still have this one's at the moment. Okay, so at this point we're just gonna go and try to obtain that old shape that we had by removing those small branches. I'm just going to remove this branch right here since it's right next to each other. There's no clear space there. Just gonna remove it like that, and I'm going to clean off right there. So now that we finish clipping off those old leaves and cleaning the branches here, what we're going to do is that we're going to proceed in wiring those branches so that we can get that shape that we had once again. Just we're going to use some thin wire here, and we're going to be using the same method as always, where we want to wire two branches with one wire at the same time. So we're going to begin by just measuring the amount of wire that we need. It's always okay to just cut a little bit more than what you need, because we have to keep in mind that we do have to put it in a loop. This wire right here, we want to grab onto these lower branches first. So on this particular occasion, I'm actually not wiring the trunk because I feel like it has a really nice natural movement. This tree was actually a little bit taller. I would say maybe a good 2 feet taller. So what I did is that I just pretty much cut off the trunk right about right here, and then I had this split off right here. So this eventually, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to cut off this branch, and this is going to become my new leader right here, and pretty much go from there. What I could also do is that I can just simply cut right here, and then this right here would become my new leading branch. But at the moment I feel like it's still a little bit too young. I have actually not decided the actual height for this tree, so we're just going to continue just wiring and styling, and eventually I'm going to just cut off where I really need it to be done. Alright, so we're just going to move on to the next branch. I feel like I can't really wire this one right here, so I'm just going to use a different method. But since this one right here, we do have a really bad angle going on right here, this one and this one I'm actually going to wire with the same wire. Alright, so since this tree is actually growing a lot faster on me, I'm just leaving a really good amount of room right here. But at the same time, I'm giving the necessary tightness that it needs. I'm just going to go ahead and follow this one right over here, and then we're going to bring back the pressure right over here. I'm noticing some new buds growing right at the beginning, so I'm just going to go ahead and be careful and not ruining those, since those can become really good branches later in the future. I see that it still has that really nice movement, and we're going to move on to the next branch. Still allowing some room right here and being careful with the new growth. This branch right here, I feel like it's trying to grow back just a little bit, so I don't want to bring it back all the way completely. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it right over here, and then this one I can just move it forward just a little bit. So in this situation, it would look something like this. Alright, so this is going to happen often, and it's okay, but I guess the wire that I have right here on this particular part was actually too short, so I'm going to go ahead and discard it, and we're just going to go ahead and grab a longer one. I guess what I should say is that is wire is cheap, so we should just continue to use as much as we can. So at this particular point right here, I'm noticing two branches starting to grow. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to go ahead and leave this part of the tree the way it is. However, at this particular point, we have 1, 2, 3, about 6, 7 buds growing. And I was careful in wrapping around the wire without actually damaging those buds. So my thought here is that these would actually become branches or leaves. If it do become branches, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut back to up to this point right here. And then it will leave me with some nice finer branches at the top. I wrapped this little thin wire around this branch right over here. And now that it's all wrapped up, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to bring the rest of the wire down, and I'm going to anchor it onto the lower branch, just like that. This right here would actually just serve as a guidance for this little branch to continue growing in this position. And eventually, once it's thicker, what I will do is that I'm going to just use some thicker wire to give it the position that I want. So now that those branches are wire, what we're going to do is that we're just going to let it sit here for just about a year or so, or just keep an eye out on those branches, because this tree, like I said, actually is growing faster than I anticipated. So I'm going to keep an eye out there so that it doesn't scar as much as the previous time. Now that the branches are in this position, as soon as they mature just a little bit more, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use some wire, and just the way that I anchored this branch and lowered it, what I'll be doing is that I'm going to grab some wire, and since this is a plastic pot right over here, I'm just going to bring those branches down as much as I needed to do. However, at this particular moment, I feel like these ones right here are in a really nice position so far. Notice how right here at the bottom, I do have these two branches growing in this direction. That's actually what I wanted to obtain from the beginning. At this point, what I can do is I can just get some thinner wire and just continue to split these ones, so that eventually it would have enough room to continue to split. I'm going to reuse this wire right over here, since these two branches are still flexible. Just like that. Now that there's two branches right here, eventually it's going to split onto 4, then 8, and then 16, and we're going to continue just cutting off those branches. My hopes are that right about right here we're going to be doing the same thing, and we're going to get 2 more branches growing out over here, and we're going to continue using the same technique all the way to the top. Alright, so what we're going to do now is that we're just going to try to reposition these branches and try to get them just to the point where we want them to be situated. Alright, so now that we have found the shape to the tree right here, what we're going to do is that we're just going to go ahead and let it rest. As we find some new growth, I'm going to either be cutting back a little bit, or I'm just going to just let it grow as much as I can, and then cut back, let it grow, cut back. This time I'm not going to repot it, since I did repot it last year. However, I did add a little more fertilizer here, and we're just going to see how this tree takes off during the summer and the fall. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you have any thoughts, go ahead and comment down below. I'll leave it right here with the finished product.